So Kevin, thank you for your time. Number 5 magazine are delighted to have you on board. Obviously, we've had a lot of questions go out on Twitter before meeting you, and it's been inundated with feedback and questions for you. And I think one of the main ones we had was, when was that eureka moment kind of came to you? I've got a great concept here. I can see kind of a path for where we're going to go.
Yeah, there were two main concepts that helped us get to that eureka moment. One was going from a check-in app that allowed you to optionally add a photo to being a photo app that optionally allowed you to check in. It was that flip and the reverse of what we were originally doing to being a photocentric app. As soon as we started doing that, we could see the behavior pick up and that people really loved taking photos. But there was one key problem with photos. No one liked the photos that they were taking. So they needed filters or something to make them better. So the filters were the second key step. So that pivot towards photos and then the filters, and then a lot of hard work for 4.5 years.
So if you elaborate a little bit, what was you doing before? What was your main concept before? Was it a totally different app when you first started, and did it take shape from pointers, as you said, from the people and how they reacted?
Yeah, people in Silicon Valley like to say that you never end where you start. So whatever your first idea is, you should basically assume is trash and you're going to throw it out. We started as a check-in app. At the time, there was Foursquare, there was Gowalla, there was Instagram. We called it Bourbon, B-U-R-B-N. And the check-in app war had started, and there were a lot of startups that were far ahead. We assumed we had to be a check-in app to win, but it turns out being a photo app actually let us gain much more momentum. We were basically that check-in app for about a year, and because the numbers weren't showing steady success, we knew we had to pivot onto something else. That's why we ended up doing Instagram.
Was you always into photography beforehand?
Yeah, I am. I'm really into visual stuff. So I love watching a movie. I love reading, very visual magazines like Architectural Digest or, things that are just very visually driven. And I've never really liked reading. I've never really liked writing. And because of that, I think Instagram was kind of a natural fit with what I loved. And I took photography classes in college, and that's where I learned about the square format photography. I learned about developing photographs and adding chemicals to change the colors. So a lot of education in photography, my education in photography, informed what Instagram would become in the future.
I read up that you worked with Google. Did that have any kind of shaping on how you've developed into getting Instagram where it is? Did it help you in any way, the environment you were working in, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. I started as a marketing manager, learning how to market our products. So I worked on Gmail, Google Calendar, Google Docs and spreadsheets, and that taught me about consumer software and how to market it to people. Then I worked in corporate development, which basically allowed me to see Google buying companies and learn about the buying process of companies, how to sell a company, all the things to consider when you're doing that. So both of those definitely informed the Instagram journey, both in selling the company and marketing it.
So 18 months it was, excuse me if I'm...
Something like that,
exactly,
yeah.
For Facebook
I don't even remember, yeah.
And take you away. Did you kind of see that coming? By seeing the numbers rise very quickly, was you surprised? How did that kind of go through that deal?
Yeah, I didn't see it coming. It was never the intention for us to sell our company. It just happened to be the right place at the right time with the right people, with the right company, with the right vision. All the stars kind of had to align to make it happen. Mark's a really smart guy. I mean, many consider him probably the most forward-thinking, futuristic-thinking CEO in the Valley. And I'm really happy to be part of such a fantastic company that has supported Instagram's success from 13 employees now up to 200, from 20 million users all the way up to 300 million users.
That's what I mean, taking over Twitter in such a short space of time as well. Was there any kind of reservations about going with a Facebook and maybe releasing a little bit of control, etc.? I don't know how it was structured, the deal, but were there a lot of questions that you had in your head that were kind of on the agenda straight away that you was kind of scared and skeptical about with such a big company like Facebook?
People like to say having a startup is kind of like having a child. You're very protective over it. And when you maintain complete control over it, it's one thing. If you sell it to a company, there's always a question of how much control you actually have. And the good news is we've been there for 2.5 years, and I think the proof is in the path that we've taken. 2.5 years later, we're still very independent, very autonomous, producing awesome stuff that the world loves, and Instagram has become, the behemoth that it has.
So you've had, obviously, from the beginning, photography, then video. What's next for Instagram? What can people that love and follow and do Instagram daily, can they expect in the coming months and years?
Right. Well, the basis will always be media, because I believe the future of communication is media. I believe that we communicate more through a photo and a video than we do through text or a blog post. And because of that, we're going to focus on media, and then we're going to focus on how to let people discover that media. So 70 million photos are posted every single day to Instagram. People spend 21 minutes a day on Instagram, 300 million over the course of a month, right? This kind of activity level is unprecedented. And what we want to make sure is that as people take those 70 million photos, that you can tune in and see what's happening anywhere in the world. So whether that's a football match or something like the World Cup, whether you want to see a fashion show or a presidential inauguration, you should be able to tune into each of those and see the vantage points from each individual person and basically see the world as it happens, as if you're watching TV.
So you're not necessarily trying to tell people how the future is going to be looking. It's kind of, you're just waiting for it to happen and you're trying to evolve with that.
It's less about waiting, and it's more about making it possible to discover what's inside of Instagram. I think one of the things we've done since the very beginning is maintain that simplicity that people love about Instagram. People don't want a bunch of features added. They don't want a bunch of fussiness. They just want to use something that's simple to use and allows them to express themselves. At the same time, as more and more people do that, there's such rich content. Like, a lot of people don't even know how to find their favorite, football players on Instagram. They don't even know how to find their favorite celebrities or even their friends. We need to allow people to discover those accounts, those types of that type of content, trending hashtags, trending places. That kind of stuff is the stuff we need to focus on over the next year.
So obviously Instagram, everyone takes photos of their, well, not everyone takes photos of their food, and you see people in restaurants now. I certainly do. It's crazy. What's the most creative ways you've seen Instagram used in your time?
Where do I start? I mean, there have been businesses started on Instagram. There's this guy who makes these special skateboards where he carves them in a Polynesian style. And then he started showing them on Instagram, and all of a sudden people started commenting underneath, hey, where can I buy one of these? Where can I buy one of these? Now he has many employees, and he started his business on Instagram. So everything from people documenting the world in North Korea to being able to start a business on Instagram, I mean, we've seen it all. And that's part of what I love about Instagram, is how universal it is. It's not just for teens, it's not just for athletes, it's not just for celebrities. It's for everyone, and images are the universal language.
What are the must-have apps out there? We've had a lot of questions. This is one of the biggest questions we've had to ask you. What are your must-have apps? Top three, if you've got a top three.
Well, so this is hard. Let me say, one thing I can't live without is Uber, which I'm not sure if it's big over here yet. I've used it a few times, but I can't live without it.
Do you use that in every state you go to?
Yeah, inside of the United States. It's not available everywhere. There are some cities that don't allow it. But while I've been on this trip, I was in Munich, I was in Stockholm. I used it in both of those places, and it's been amazing. Mostly because I don't have to tell the driver where to go. I can just put in the address, and I'm set. Exactly. Well, it's because I don't speak the language, so I got to do my best. I think also I really love Airbnb, because when I travel, I love to travel, and I can find all sorts of amazing places to stay. I think it's starting to be bigger internationally. And then probably like one of the cooler, like Pro HDR-X is an app that lets you take high dynamic range images. So it takes multiple exposures, blends them together to produce really beautiful results. I just posted this image in Stockholm of a sunset, and I'll tell you, like, I took one with the regular camera, and then I took one with Pro HDR-X, and it came out beautifully. So it's great for low light situations and high contrast situations.
Okay, cool. So back to Instagram. Can you give me 3 accounts that you would say are the coolest people to follow on there, for me personally, and for obviously everyone else?
Sure. I think number one is an amazing account I discovered today, so I'm a little bit biased. It's called Symmetric Breakfast. Symmetric Breakfast, all one word, I think, or there might be an underscore. You'll find it if you search for it. It's this couple here in the UK that basically make 2 breakfasts that are identical and put them side by side. It's actually a really gorgeous account. It makes me really hungry every time I see it. There's another one by a photographer named Finn, Finn, @Finn. And he does beautiful landscapes that are kind of dreamlike in quality. And I just think he's inspiring as a photographer. And then my favorite personality here in the UK that I follow is Jamie Oliver. I think the guy is just one of the nicest guys. He's huge on philanthropy, and he's huge on his causes and cooking and passionate. And he's got his kids that are the cutest things in the world who cook with him. So I think that all together makes me really love Jamie and think he's a great Instagrammer.
My last question to you from the fans is who would you love to see on Instagram who isn't already on there?
I've got to say maybe David Beckham.
Yeah.
He's not on yet, and I would really like to see him on, so we should work on that.
What are you doing?
Come on, man.
Well, you're not normally late with this type of things. Okay.
So we'll try, yeah.
Exactly. Well, thank you very much
Awesome,
for your time.
man.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoy England and have a safe trip home.
Appreciate it. Hi, I'm Kevin Systrom, and this is Number 5 Magazine.